There was something special about driving in the 1970s. The cars were big, bold, and built like tanks. You'd hear the rumble of a V8, feel the wind through the rolled-down windows, and maybe even smell a little too much gasoline. It was freedom on four wheels. But it wasn't always safe. In fact, some of the features we loved back then are downright dangerous by today's standards. Today we're flipping through the pages of the past to look at 10 car features from the 1970s that were wildly unsafe. 1. Metal dashboards. Built tough, a little too tough. Back then, car dashboards were made of solid metal. It looked sleek, matched the trim, and felt like it could survive a war. But in a crash, that dashboard turned into a wall of steel, and your head was the first thing to meet it. It wasn't until the late 70s that padded dashboards became common. We didn't realize it then, but the thing that made cars look tough also made them more dangerous. 2. No seatbelt laws, strap in or don't. In the early 70s, wearing a seatbelt wasn't just optional, it was practically unheard of. Many cars came with belts, sure, but most people tucked them under the seat. There were no national laws requiring their use, and ads promoting seatbelt safety were few and far between. It took years of education, and way too many accidents, before people started buckling up. 3. Lap belts only. Half the protection, twice the risk. If your car did have seatbelts, they were usually just lap belts. That meant your upper body was free to fly forward in a crash. They were better than nothing, but just barely. Shoulder belts weren't standard until the late 70s, and even then, many folks didn't know how to use them right. 4. No headrests. A pain in the neck, literally. Many 70s car seats looked cool, but they had one big problem: no headrests. Without them, even a small fender bender could give you serious whiplash. It wasn't until regulations caught up in the late 60s that headrests started appearing, but it took a while for all cars to catch on. Looking back, it's hard to imagine driving without one. 5. Hard steering wheels. No cushion, no chance. Ever seen an old car with a big, shiny steering wheel made of metal or hard plastic? They were stylish and dangerous. In a front-end crash, the driver's chest or face would slam right into it. Modern steering wheels have padding and airbags. But in the 70s, they just had hope. 6. Poor crumple zones. Built like a brick wall. Cars in the 70s were built solid, and that was the problem. Instead of absorbing impact, they transferred it right into the passenger cabin. The idea of a car crumpling to protect the people inside seemed strange back then. But today, we know it's not the car you want to save, it's the people inside. 7. No airbags. Nothing but the wind. Airbags weren't just rare in the 70s, they were practically science fiction. A few experimental cars had them, but most didn't. So if you crashed, you had nothing between you and the dashboard but your arms. It wasn't until the late 1980s that airbags started showing up regularly in American cars. 8. Weak door locks. Easy in, easy out, even in a crash. Door locks in the 70s were simple, and sometimes too simple. In an accident, they could pop open, flinging passengers right out of the car. There were no child locks, no safety catches, just a tiny pin you hoped would hold. Safer door designs came much later, after too many tragic stories. 9. Sharp interior trim. Style with a side of ouch. Chrome strips, pointed knobs, and plastic edges. The inside of a 70s car was full of hazards. They looked classy, until you bumped into one. In a crash, these parts could cut, jab, or worse. Today's cars have soft surfaces and rounded edges, but in the 70s, sharp was in. 10. Rear gas tanks. A bomb in the back. Some cars, like the Ford Pinto, had gas tanks placed right behind the bumper. That meant a rear-end collision could cause the tank to rupture, or even explode. It was one of the most infamous design flaws of the decade. After public outcry and lawsuits, automakers changed the design, but not before lives were lost. Film frames. Outro. Cars from the 70s had charm, no doubt. But safety wasn't always part of the package. It's amazing how far we've come, from metal dashboards to smart airbags. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, give this video a like, leave a comment about the oldest car you've ever ridden in, and don't forget to subscribe.